the only co-star Elizabeth Montgomery truly hated. Did you grow up in the 1960s or 1970s? Then you probably recall Bewitched, a popular comedy that aired on ABC. It was the story of Samantha, a witch who married Darren Stevens, an average man. Despite her new ordinary existence, Samantha couldn't help but use her magical abilities to solve issues as they occurred. From September 17, 1964 until March 25, 1972, the show was one of the most popular on all three major networks. Despite its long run and enormous popularity, even the most ardent fans are unaware of all these Bewitched facts. Were you a Bewitched fan when you were younger? Are you younger but have watched TV Land reruns? You've come to the right place. Discover some startling Bewitched behind-the-scenes details you may not have known before. Are you ready to go back in time? Wiggle your nose and let's get started. Soul Sex Inspiration. Soul Sex created the show Bewitched after seeing I Married a Witch, a fantasy romantic comedy, and Bell, Book and Candle, a romantic comedy starring Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak. He was inspired to create the sitcom. Sachs was confident that there wouldn't be any copyright issues because Columbia Pictures, which also owned Screen Gems, which produced Bewitched, owned the other two movies. Elizabeth Montgomery's aging spell. Elizabeth Montgomery was a rising star in cinema and television in the 1960s. She began her career in 1953 and continued to acquire role after role on television and in films. She was in her early 30s when she earned the role of Samantha Stevens, the major character in Bewitched. Montgomery appears in a marketing shot for Johnny Cool, a 1963 film released soon before Bewitched began. Looking at Montgomery decades later, one could say that she employed anti-aging sorcery to seem so young. How popular was Montgomery during the run of Bewitched? She was nominated for Best Actress 5 times at the Primetime Emmys and 4 times at the Golden Globes. However, she never brought either award. The Darren to Be. Actor Richard Crenna had the opportunity to play Darren Stevens before Dick York approached him, but he turned it down because he was currently filming another project. Crenna appeared on the hit TV show The Real McCoys and was set to begin Slattery's People the same year that Bewitched premiered. Given that Slattery's People only survived 2 years, we believe Crenna would have appreciated a magical spell that allowed him to travel back in time and make that decision again. Cause of Dick York's back injury. Dick York had to leave the program due to persistent back pain. His replacement, however, was never addressed on the broadcast, leaving many fans perplexed. York had been hurt while working on the film They Came to Cordura, which had been completed 5 years earlier in 1959. York never fully recovered. In his own words, "Gary Cooper and I were driving a handcar full of wounded men down the railway track. I was on the bottom stroke of the teeter-totter mechanism that powered the handcar. I was just about to raise the handle when the director screamed, 'Cut!' and one of the wounded cast members reached up and grabbed it. I was abruptly and jarringly moving his full weight, 180 pounds or more, off the flatbed. My muscles on the right side of my back were torn. They simply snapped and let go. It was the beginning of everything: the agony, the drugs, the addiction, and the lost career." Darren's return. Darren was absent for the show for 14 episodes after Dick York left. The public didn't see Darren again until Dick Sargent joined the group in the 1969 episode Sam and the Beanstalk. Sargent went on to film 84 episodes until the show's conclusion. However, audiences adored Dick York for his depiction of Darren. His replacement disappointed and perplexed many admirers. Dick Sargent was meant to be. As previously stated, Richard Crenna was one of the initial contenders to play Darren Stevens, but he declined the job. Dick Sargent was another actor who was approached for the part. Sargent, on the other hand, secured another job while the Bewitched producers were finalizing their casting selections. As a result, Sargent declined the post as well. Dick York was finally offered the part by ABC at that point, and as fans are aware, Sargent would eventually take up the job when York was forced to retire in a strange twist of magical fate. Ratings woes. During the Darren Syndrome event, the sitcom's ratings plummeted dramatically. Fans were disturbed to see a different Darren in the same role. The absence of explanation just contributed to the viewer's perplexity. During Season 5, the show ranked 11th in the ratings. However, it fell to number 24 the next season with Sargent. Darren and Endora were actually good friends. Samantha's mother, Endora, played by Agnes Moorehead, and Darren, Dick York, didn't get along on the program. Their conversation frequently resulted in some of the show's funniest moments. Moorehead and York, on the other hand, were close friends in real life. Moorehead was also a talented actress during Hollywood's golden age. She received 6 Emmy nominations for her performance on Bewitched, as well as 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actress and 4 Academy Award nominations. Tabitha spinoff just doesn't work. 5 years after the end of Bewitched, ABC launched Tabitha, a spinoff about Tabitha Stevens working as a TV production assistant in Los Angeles. Most fans, however, didn't like the show as much as they enjoyed Bewitched. They were dissatisfied when Erin Murphy played Tabitha in the production rather than aspiring actress Lisa Hartman. After only 1 season, the show was canceled. Battle of the Witches. 1 year after ABC debuted Bewitched, rival network NBC debuted I Dream of Jeannie, a fantasy sitcom. Despite being competitors, they were both produced by the same film production firm, Screen Gems. The original, like most imitators, was considered more popular than the derivative. I Dream of Jeannie ran for 5 seasons but never rose above number 26 in the Nielsen ratings. Ratings drop. Agnes Moorehouse may have had a point. Bewitched dropped 13 positions in the ratings after Sargent replaced York. To be honest, this was most likely due to the show's aging rather than the cast change itself. Co-star hated. Elizabeth Montgomery's relationship with her co-stars on Bewitched, for which she's best known, was generally positive. However, one of the co-stars she reportedly had issues with was Dick Sargent, who portrayed her on-screen spouse, Darren Stevens, beginning in the 6th season. Their fraught relationship was not the result of personal animosity, but of professional differences. Dick Sargent took over for Dick York, who originally played Darren but had to leave the show due to health reasons. The acting styles and chemistry of Montgomery and Sargent were distinct from those of Montgomery and York. After the transition, some viewers and admirers of the program observed a shift in the dynamic between Samantha and Darren. Montgomery and Sargent did their utmost to collaborate professionally, but their rapport didn't match that of her previous co-star. This disparity in on-screen rapport may have resulted in a somewhat fraught working relationship, despite the fact that both actors remained committed to their roles and the program continued to run successfully for many more seasons. It's essential to observe that while there were professional differences between Montgomery and Sargent, this does not inherently indicate that Montgomery disliked Sargent personally. They each faced their own obstacles in adjusting to the show's alterations.